Wow, a brand new router. I can't wait for my network to be as fast as possible. And it has 10 gigabit. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, I mean, okay, this is actually a pretty good router, but it's only got the one 10 gig port, which is sort of an enigma wrapped in an enchilada taco salad.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, I know. It's a little weird.
So, is there something we could do to make my router nice and fast?
You want to do a forbidden router?
Let's do it.
This is the RTBE86U. This is a great Wi-Fi 7 router. There's nothing wrong with it really, but if you look at the back and you look at the ports, it has one 10 gig port and one 2.5 gig port, and either one of them can be WAN or LAN because Asus knows. Asus knows they're doing something a little squirrely here. Chances are your internet connection is only 2.5 gig or slower, not 10 gig. This is not an appropriate 10 gigabit internet router. But your Wi-Fi connection here, it is up to 6.8 gigabit, and your other setup or your other ports 2.5 gig and 1 gig. It's like the aggregate there, maybe you could reach that kind of a capacity. But this doesn't really make sense. Like if you put a 10 gigabit server, chances are you've got 10 gigabit in your workstation.
Yeah.
And so like the nice thing though is that it's just an appliance. It's purpose built, it works. What I'm gonna show you, and the reason it's forbidden, is because we're layering on more complexity, chasing simplicity.
I see.
And so it's like, in some ways it's simpler, but in other ways it's more complicated.
Well, I guess the setup would be more complicated, but hopefully once you have everything going,
yes,
it'll be simpler.
We were also talking before about, you like the idea of a home lab, but the sprawling nature.
Yeah, not a whole lot of room
Yeah.
in my living area, so I'd love something a little bit more compact.
Yeah, so I've got just the thing. This is the Minisforum N5. This is a great customizable, like this is a great platform for a home server. If you just want a NAS, this is overkill and it costs too much. But if you want to turn this into your home server where you can do a bunch of things with it, then this is great. The real magic in here though is that it has a lot of CPU horsepower. This is like 5 or 6 times as much horsepower as like a normal NAS because they figure that you're going to be doing a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah.
This configuration also has 96 gigabytes of memory.
All right,
Which is like probably more than most people watching this their desktop.
I think I have 64 at home.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
that's
you could totally run this with 16 or 32 gigabytes of memory. That's completely fine. But this is going to run a virtual machine, which is going to do the router stuff.
okay.
Now you could use that with this. Like there is nothing wrong with using an appliance like that, and you could choose worse than the BE86U. Like nobody, like the marketing material says, oh, here's your high-end gaming desktop PC. You're connected both wirelessly and wired. And then like all of those connections together, you could maybe get to 10 gigabits. So like if you use the 10 gig port on this to plug into here, then from your gaming computer to here, you could maybe copy stuff off at a gigabyte per second, because that's what 10 gigabit is. It can,
Yeah.
So you would need to get a higher end router, a different model, or you can try to consolidate.
Build your own, yeah.
So if you're going to consolidate, you need another piece of equipment. I'm sorry. We're going to be using a MikroTik switch because you can buy these, but Enterprise cast-off gear is the $50 option.
Yeah, I was looking around on eBay, and there were all kinds of available switches and things like that. The problem is, for me, I'm not an expert.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
No one is. That's why they're watching this video, so we can build a forbidden router.
I don't know what to choose.
It's if you go the forbidden router option, you need a switch that you can manage.
Yeah.
And that means that you remote into the switch and you do some configuration. But the good news is once you've done the configuration, that is like a 5 or 10 year solution. You're not going to have to hop in there.
to touch it.
This whole video is going to be the paradox of more complexity chasing less complexity. And we are papering over the more complexity through automation tools, so you don't have to do quite as much. Because nobody wants to go home, I think, and be a system administrator all of the time.
Yeah, at your home after work.
So if you have this and a mini PC, so like you have two things, you can set up some redundancy and high availability. But the real thing that makes the high availability and the redundancy happen is actually the switch.
Okay.
And so This MikroTik switch, the one we're showing in the video, it's like $1,000. But we've also got the Avaya option, and this is a managed switch. And if you're not sure about which managed switch, you know, that's maybe a fun title, like which switch is.
Yeah, which switch is managed. I don't know. We'll workshop it.
Which is which? I don't know.
There you go.
Or which switch is which. And so these Avaya switches are about $50 on the used market.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, no. They're a little louder, which is annoying. This one is not quite as loud.
Stuff it in a closet. It's no big deal.
But this is commercial grade. This is meant to not die. So, managed switch. Why do we need a managed switch? It's like, well, your internet connection comes in here, and then this makes it so that you have more Ethernet ports and wireless so that you can plug things in. Now, there are two ways to approach high availability. Proxmox in a proper cluster has more than 2 nodes. You really need 3. There's this idea of a quorum where when something bad happens to one of the members, the other members can sort of look at that and evaluate. And it's like, hey, did you say, you know, did this one go down? Yeah, this one went down. And there's a consensus among 2 nodes when a 3rd node goes down. Secondarily, there's this other option, which is not really recommended for production environments, but you can have a queue device, which is a thing that will vote in the quorum, but that otherwise doesn't host cluster resources. That is a perfectly reasonable way to have a 2-node cluster that has a reasonable high availability failover and behavior. And so when you're configuring ZFS replication and all of this other stuff, understand that the built-in high availability in Proxmox doesn't work out of the box with only a 2-node cluster. Ideally, you want 3 nodes. It's like, oh, does that mean we need to add another mini PC? It's like, well, for home setup, there's a couple of options. One of those options is you can actually manage high availability in a virtual machine. And so with OpenSense and PFSense, they support high availability themselves. And so you can replicate for backup purposes. Like you can get in there in the command line and be like, hey, the backup that you made 15 minutes ago or 2 hours ago or last night or whatever, I need to restore it without actually having to do the Proxmox backup server, which actually would be a better recommendation. But you can run 2 virtual machines, one on each node, and manage the high availability from within the virtual machine. See, high availability is an option that exists in those 2 particular packages. And so you can configure high availability in OpenSense. And so I would have a virtual machine on the NAS that's running OpenSense, and I would have another virtual machine, a second virtual machine that is also running OpenSense that is at a different LAN IP address. Actually, there end up being 3 LAN IP addresses in play, one for each of the virtual machines and then one that's shared between them. And having one virtual machine on each one, you get basically instantaneous failover. It's even faster than what you would get from Proxmox. Queue device is another option, so you can pick a 3rd device, a Raspberry Pi or whatever, which could, you know, look at the 2 nodes and be like, yeah, I can confirm this one is down. And then the high availability features within Proxmox will work, which is based on the ZFS replication, it can go ahead and start the machine from the last replica. That can actually be a little dangerous depending on what it is. So like, you know, your router configuration is not really changing all that much, but if you had any open connections, you know, those are going to be lost because the thing has to restart. Whereas if you use high availability within OpenSense and there's 2 machines running continuously, those connections will actually stay open because it was synchronizing with itself in basically real time. This is a much better solution. But again, you know, you don't want to, we're chasing stability, and it's the paradox of complexity. But once it's set up, it's fairly self-maintaining. I mean, you're going to end up doing maintenance a couple of times a year, but that's home ownership too. I mean, you know, it's turtles all the way down. So the internet is going to come into your switch, and we're going to set up what's called a virtual LAN.
Okay. What are we using? Is this a Proxmox project we're using for this, or?
Yeah, we can put Proxmox on this. This actually would work fine with Proxmox or Unraid. Pretty much any NAS operating system that supports VLANs.
Okay.
And the hardware in here supports VLANs. So we add a mini PC. So at the lowest end, you got the UN305. This thing's 16 gigabytes of memory from Minis Forum. And this would only run like a couple of small VMs. This obviously would not run your media. Your media server is going to be down when this is rebooting. Although you could do full replicas. Like you could get 2 identical ones, and that's fine.
Yeah, but we're gonna.
Yeah, this is cheap. This is really cheap. So this thing also will run Proxmox, and you can move your router virtual machine from this to that and do maintenance or whatever on this. Or if this goes down unexpectedly, Proxmox can automatically boot up the router over here.
Yeah, so you have multiple points of failure. So For someone like me, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm moderate, intermediate. This seems deceptively not super complicated.
Yeah, once you get to the Proxmox GUI and you understand that like this is my virtualization platform and this is what my router is, then it is much easier to manage. And like Pi-hole, a lot of people have gotten, just run Pi-hole on a Raspberry Pi. And it's like, well, what if you could do away with the Raspberry Pi?
And just run it here.
Yeah, you run 50 copies of something like that on here. It's fine.
Any other kind of software I should know about? Like,
there's all kinds of software projects on the Level 1 forums where people go nuts and play with stuff. There's Calibre Book Server.
Yeah, Calibre is one. I think we did a video on that with Ryan.
Image for your family photos and things. You can protect it. I think that we're heading, especially with like the EU ruling and some of the stuff with Android, this kind of a solution with Tailscale is as good or better than native like iCloud and native Android Google Drive.
Yeah.
And you can just run it on your own hardware. No universe does it make sense for you to pay for that.
And iCloud, I've had trouble with before where it's like, okay, we can't pull this. Why? Don't know. It's like, I think running it myself would give me kind of the peace of mind that, okay, if something's gone wrong, it's my fault.
You can at least sit down and say, okay.
I can maybe fix this.
Yeah, I have some friends that we have a slightly more elaborate setup, but I'm backing their stuff up to my house, and they're backing my stuff up to their house.
Okay.
And we're using encryption. And so I don't think I've ever needed it, but like if something really catastrophic went wrong, then my family photos and media collection and all that is available, even if, something really bad
went
happens.
wrong. Speaking of that, how safe is this kind of thing generally? So, like, it feels like it's pretty secure, but there's always going to be a slight risk.
Yeah, it's you have a little bit of, there's no getting away from doing a little bit of administration.
Yeah.
But all the services have gotten so crappy that you might as well learn it now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, rather than trust my fate to them, I'll take my fate into my own hands, and if something goes wrong,
generally,
who's to blame?
If you just monitor it and give it some food every now and then, it'll live forever.
It's like a Tamagotchi.
Yeah. It's like, you just got to check on, I've lost a drive. I should replace the drive. Now, the other thing that I want to show you, and this is how we quickly got the containers set up for Grant, is the Proxmox VE helper scripts. Now, the history behind these is really interesting and a little bit sad. The original guy that did this sort of died unexpectedly, and so the community has really stepped up and has been maintaining these. These are, like, Proxmox is a commercial product, and the commercial licenses for it make a lot of sense. Maybe make a little less sense in like a home lab scenario, and you can sort of reconfigure and tweak things in a home lab scenario that are a lot of fun. And that's what these scripts are about. They're not about the commercial side of it, they're about the home lab side of it. And so if you wanted to really quickly set up an LXC container, LXC is lightweight Linux containerization. It is much lighter weight than a virtual machine, and when you're in a constrained scenario like you would be on that little N305 especially, but also on a NAS scenario, LXCs, you can pack in a lot more LXCs and virtual machines, and it's a lot more efficient with memory usage and deduplication and that kind of thing. And so if you want to run Docker, you can create a Docker LXC, which is a nice little sequestered sandbox for Docker, and then you can run Portainer and that kind of thing. And there is a ton of scripts here. Now, the Proxmox one that I would point you to is the PVE post install. This script is just a yes/no script that walks you through a lot of really nice quality of life improvements. One of them, when you log into Proxmox, it constantly complains that it doesn't have a commercial license, but you can disable the NAG with that because, in a home lab scenario, Proxmox, they don't really care. They don't offer a home lab license. You can get a commercial license if you want. This also optionally will disable the stuff if you're going to run Proxmox in not a cluster. So if you're fine with having occasional downtime and you're not going to run the whole multi-cluster thing, you can run this and it'll remove some stuff, and then you'll have more room for more containers and virtual machines. But if you're going to do the cluster, or you might someday, don't answer yes to that question. But there is a ton of other stuff here that you can read through that is going to be way beyond the scope of this video. But these scripts are really awesome. And you can install Home Assistant for home automation. We've done a ton of videos on that. And smart home stuff, NVR and cameras, like Shinobi NVR is really, they're getting to be very, very impressive. And some of these are not fully open source. Some of them are freemium. Some of them do have like a subscription component or an app that you buy. there's a ton of stuff here. There's a it's like, I would like to have my NAS be a game server, and it's like, yes, you could totally install a Minecraft server. There are scripts here for basically anything that you could possibly want to do. There's also backup services so that you could set up something to back up the machines on your LAN a little more easily. But again, those are services that you would install on Proxmox, and most of the time doing that kind of stuff through Docker makes a lot of sense. And so, like, if you start with a Docker LXC and something like Portainer or some of the other like Docker management systems to manage, it's like, okay, I'm going to install Calibre Book Server or Jellyfin or whatever through the Docker LXC. That is perfectly fine. There's also scripts to directly install Nextcloud and Jellyfin and all of the other cool stuff. And so this is a quick way to get all of that up and running to just experiment. So look at this and hit us up in the forum and let us know what you run into. I've done some work.
Oh yeah?
I did sort of the pre-setup for your project.
Okay.
There is also a guide on the Level 1 Text forum.
Okay.
That'll walk you through the setup here. But I wanted to show you and walk the audience through the setup. So we were showing our N5 NAS before. Everything is running here, but it's actually very quiet.
Yeah.
I've switched out our MikroTik switch because there were 2 ports that were bad on the brand new MikroTik switch that I got, so it's being swapped out. But this one's also cheaper. This one's only like $200. This is 8 2.5 gig ports and 2 SFP plus 10 gig ports.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to show our Ustar, I don't know how you say that.
AO-Star.
Yeah, we did a review on this one too. So we get the N5 from Minis Forum, and both of these are NASs, but they have insanely powerful CPUs in them, and both of them have like 96 to 128 gigs of memory, ECC in one of them. And we're running Proxmox on both of them, and we've also got our mini PC running Proxmox. And I've just got this configured with 2 nodes and a 2-node cluster. Now, normally with Proxmox, a 2-node cluster is not really a recommended thing because you have this thing called split brain.
Right.
Where if they can't talk to each other, they think that the other one is down.
So they both kind of panic.
Yeah. And that can lead to bad things. And so you have this idea of a quorum. And so, like, if you have 3 devices, they can kind of talk to each other and figure it out.
Yeah, you have one as an observer or whatever, right?
You can, ideally, it's running some resources, but minimally, there's this thing with CoroSync, which is the sync service in Proxmox, where you can have what's called a Q device, a quorum device. And so, like, I could run that on our PyDP11, a Raspberry Pi.
Something I saw that was kind of neat is if you need to work on one of these, you can just migrate it to the other one, and it'll just work.
Yeah, so like if it's a planned maintenance kind of thing, like this is your router, you can just right click and go to migrate, and it will, and then when you migrate it, it'll only take like a minute, and it will migrate from one to the other. But it's still running while it's migrating.
Yeah.
So the internet will like hiccup just a little
for
bit.
a second, yeah.
Yeah, but then
then you can just do whatever you need on that one there.
Yeah.
So another thing,
I'm even running a Windows virtual machine on the NAS.
So you can just do Windows stuff.
Yeah.
And to that point, something interesting I saw that you showed me was the scripts,
the helper
install scripts for like malware protection and all kinds of stuff, IoT stuff. Your
whole network filtering. You can filter out unwanted internet traffic.
Yeah, think about that.
This is the Proxmox VE helper scripts, and so I went ahead and installed Image because we were talking about it's like you have over 200 gigabytes of stuff on your phone.
Yeah,
and then there's also an external hard drive that's full.
Oh yeah.
It's like, so Image is one of the things. It's like an open source thing. Is you can run your own iCloud, and so this is running, and it'll give you its IP address. And the way that I installed it was from this script.
And it's just plug and play. You just copy paste, boom.
Yeah, and if you're new to this script thing is also a great resource because it's like I didn't know that there was a thing named Image to do images.
Yeah.
How was I supposed to know that?
You can just click under images or whatever data storage, and it's like, oh, there it is.
Now in the future, like when this is old and it's time to retire it, you can add another machine to the cluster and then just do the migration and migrate all of your stuff.
Just like we did earlier with where there's going to be the little internet hiccup, but it's pretty smooth, pretty seamless.
Yeah. The other thing that I would caution you on is, so we've got our ZFS storage pool, and you've got your mechanical hard drives and your mechanical hard drive bay, and like if you use 20 terabyte drives, you can get up and running with 60, 80, 100 terabytes of usable space. But when you create a virtual machine, don't be tempted to add a 500 gigabyte or a 1 terabyte virtual hard drive. It's better to mount those over the network with NFS,
Okay.
or when you're using a container, you can just mount a ZFS volume.
Okay.
So you have a little bit of work to do to understand.
Yeah, to figure out ZFS in general is kind of a blind spot. That's something I'm gonna have to look into and learn. Luckily, we just did that video with Alan Jude, so there's a little bit of stuff there.
But it's worth the time investment.
Definitely,
Because companies are going to steal your time and
Yeah.
make you suffer.
definitely.
And this is what they're banking on. It's like if the proposition were like, you give us $5 a month and we make the complexity go away, I don't think that's unreasonable.
No, absolutely not.
But as we have seen with the streaming services, it is, oh, you've lost your ability to like watch your DVDs that you own, and you can't even buy movies from Amazon. We'll just take those at any point.
And there's a Cory Doctorow term for that.
Yeah.
that we both know that I don't think we can say on television.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And this should be like, hopefully, I'm not setting myself up for endless, tech support. But
No, I'm good at Googling stuff.
yeah, I think this is not as complex as it looks.
No.
And it is a little bit paradox of complexity
Yeah.
versus.
It's what we mentioned earlier. It's complex to set up, but once you get it set up, it's pretty intuitive.
Yeah, and this everything on the desk running all these virtual machines and containers, and really giving you fine-grained control. But also, if something is down or if something goes sideways, your router still is your router exists as a software construct,
Yeah.
basically. And it's like, yeah, the MikroTik is kind of a single point of failure, but that thing is designed with more reliability in mind than literally anything. I think this will be fun.
Definitely. Well, thanks, Wendell. And thanks to all of you out there for supporting stuff like this.
Yeah, Patreon and Floatplane.
Patreon and
subscribers.
Floatplane.
So check out the forum thread and contribute your own stuff, because it's really just a start, but it's a
Yeah.
wiki, and so it's like it's your jumping off
And I
point.
do want to hear from you guys. I'll be in that forum thread, and I want to hear from you guys. What your kind of solutions you have, software suggestions, things like that. Love to hear from you guys.
We also have threads on the forum for things like show off your home lab.
Oh, yeah.
and what you've done, and so people can get inspiration from that. That's why I love the Proxmox scripts page, because it really is a jumping off point to give you some ideas of, I didn't even know this thing existed.
Yeah, like
So I didn't know Shinobi NVR had come as far as it had in the last little bit for doing like cameras and stuff like that. And so you could really, with this much CPU horsepower, you can really go nuts.
yeah. All right, Wendell. Cool beans.
All right, we're signing out. We'll see you in the forum.
See you in the forums, guys.